Cooking equipment for this program provided by Dacor, the life of the kitchen.
I am so glad that you came by today. I'm going to be making chicken mole enchilada. The enchiladas are relatively simple. It's the mole we're going to be concentrating on. Don't worry, not hard to make. Not hard to make. It'll be simple, you'll like it. And also Dan is going to make a dessert, and then Marit will be by later to pair everything with a perfect spirit. So we've got a lot to look forward to today. Now let's start off talking about this mole sauce. We're making enchiladas, and good news is enchilada sauces tend to be chili based, and so does the mole sauce. So we'll start off with some wonderful peppers. Now there can be many peppers involved in a mole sauce. Today we're really just going to concentrate on two, and that's the ancho chili that we see here. The ancho chili is actually a dried pasilla pepper. That's what it looks like before it's dried, and it gets the name is changed once it becomes dried, and that would be the ancho chili. You're going to find these at probably any standard supermarket. If you can't find them there, go into your Hispanic market. They're usually sold in packages that are plastic packages, and they're easy to find. That's going to be the basis really of our enchilada sauce today, which is a mole sauce. So I'll go ahead and put this back over here. And let me show you what we're going to do to this to prep it. It's not that hard. Again, I promise you, if I'm doing it, it can't be that complicated because I won't do it if it's too complicated. But we'll just take our ancho chili, and it's got some seeds in it. So we want to take off the top part with the stem. And then we'll just get inside here and make sure we remove all these seeds. And you got to be careful because there's a few of them here that are, that are hiding over here that we want to get rid of. So just make sure all those seeds are gone. And then you're going to tear these into quarters or so. And then you're going to put them in a bowl. You can see I've got 4 of these that I have put in this bowl, and I've got them soaking, hydrating if you will, in chicken broth. So just simply put in enough chicken broth to cover these, and make sure you got about 30 minutes. That's it, 30 minutes or so for those to hydrate. And they'll hydrate a little faster if you heat up that chicken broth. And that's the toughest part. That really is the toughest part of this entire dish. So after you've done that, you'll take some seeds. Now there's a lot of different nuts and seeds involved in mole sauce. And what I've done is I have toasted, which really just means in a 350, I've used a little toaster oven here at 350, or you can use your oven. I've toasted these 3 different types of seeds. Again, you can find these at probably at your grocery store, or maybe one of those, if you have one of those kind of funky granola type stores that sell things in bulk, the ones I'm talking about. Get on your Birkenstocks, wear your sandals with your jeans when you go down there. You can go to one of those stores and find sesame seeds, probably in bulk. If not, you can find them in a small package. Sesame seeds, and then we've also got pumpkin seeds, and we've got some slivered almonds. So put those, again, I got them in parchment paper here. Your parchment paper is good for up to 450 degrees. You're not going to go that high. You're going to go 350 for not very long, 10, 15 minutes. Keep an eye on them. My sesame seeds are just starting to get a little too brown here, but not too bad. This will give you a lot of flavor. This is really the secret to flavor with a lot of these sauces. So now we'll get our food processor, and we're going to grind these because grinding is a big part of mole. Grinding is a huge part of making mole. So I'm just going to pick this up, right, just like this. We'll see how skilled I am. Right into the hopper. My heart was beating there, you folks. Oh my God, so much so that I'm forgetting how hot this is. I just completely forgot how hot that pan is. So yes, as you've guessed it by now, don't tell the kids. I did that a little earlier, and it had a chance to cool down. So I'm over here at the food processor now. I'm going to add to my toasted seeds some just standard dry roasted peanuts. Now I've got blanched, if you want to go get some blanched peanuts that are just blanched, not toasted yet, you can toast them yourself with those. But so many of the peanuts you can buy today are already toasted and flavorful enough, I found, that we don't really need to worry about that. So we'll process these first, just till you get to a point where it's got sort of a fine texture. Not too long here. Oh, it smells good. Oh, right away it's smelling wonderful. So about to that texture there. So it's a little bit grainy. That's all that you need right now. And then we'll add in some golden raisins. And this particular recipe is just these golden raisins are good. And you know what's fun about this? These golden raisins, and what we're doing as far as grinding is this is it. This is really simple. There are this is a Mexican dish, as we know, and mole is just an absolutely loved and revered dish that's made in Mexico, served for a lot of festivities and a lot of religious holidays and so forth. So it's made typically in groups. Neighborhoods will get together and grind all these chilies together and make large quantities of it. And you'll see the women walking along the streets with buckets of what we're making right here, which is really the ground part of the mole. And the mole is a concoction. That's really what it is. It's a concoction. That's just the most simple way to come up with it. And the best news there is no single recipe that's better than any other one. So we sort of get to play around with it a little bit. So we'll put in the raisins. I'm going to add back in our ancho chilies that, again, we have seeded and torn up and hydrated in a bowl here. And then we'll process that. Put my hand on the top so I don't spread mole all over this kitchen. But there we are. We want to make sure that let's get in there and just make sure that we've got all our, oh, look at it, making a little bit of a mess. But guess what, Marit? It's so good. Marit's here. She's going to come out and pair a little later, as I mentioned. It is so good. If it tastes good, whoever's cleaning up later won't mind, right? That's my theory. So I'm making a little bit of a mess, but it'll taste good, so it'll be worth it. So there we are. Let's process that just a little more. And now we're set. So we'll leave that for a second. Now what we'll do is we'll come back over to the pan here, and I've got a pan that I've started cooking some onions. I've got an onion here that I've sliced thinly, and I've cooked this in a little bit of vegetable oil. We'll crank up our heat just a little bit. And this will give us a base for now. We're going to start, for us to start actually cooking up our mole sauce. And at this point, I'm going to, just spread some spices over the top of my onions. I've got a little bit of ground coriander there, a little bit more, about a teaspoon or so of ground cumin. And then just to make things special, I'm going to add some ground cinnamon. Now, a lot of you are saying, Jeff, when are you going to add that Mexican chocolate? Because we're making a brown mole sauce today, and there are many different kinds of mole sauce. There's actually like 10 different ones, Marit. 10 different mole sauces. We're making the black or the brown one today, the darkest one, and it gets that color. It gets, because of the designation, if you will, because of the chocolate. But we're not going to use the Mexican chocolate today. You'll see a little bit later, we're going to use just some standard semi-sweet or even unsweetened chocolate. So we can keep this simple. I just want you to make it. I want you to make it like I did. I tried it, and I made it. So that cinnamon that I just put in, and you can smell that. I mean, this is just smelling wonderful right now. That cinnamon is actually going to work with the chocolate to give us this wonderful, absolutely just wonderful, unique flavor that is going to go very well with our enchilada sauce, or become our enchilada sauce. So once that's been toasted, and some of you will say, Jeff, you're toasting there. Yes, I know. I am toasting. I'm adding a little bit of spice to something I'm sauteing, and a lot of folks will say, well, that's toasting. Yes, it does. It just brings out that much more flavor when you add those spices to the onion. So now that, we'll let that go for, at home when you do it, you'll do that for a couple minutes just to get that nice garlic incorporated into that. And then we go ahead and just add back our spice sauce that we made over here in the food processor. So let's put that back in here. Yeah. The spice, this is the essence. It's just like a super, if you will, a super intensely flavored spice sauce. Let me get this out of here. I'll put this back over on my board here. Make sure we get every little bit of it here. This is absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad you're going to try making it. Don't buy that. Here's the best part, Marit, about buying the mole. If you buy the mole at the grocery store, and you'll see it up there, the best part about it is you get to keep the glass jar, and you can drink out of it. That's the best part, and may I say, do I dare say that's the only decent part of doing that. Should I give that I'm going to give this to Sherry. Thank you, by the way. Sherry Underwood is here. The most famous hands in public television. And she's putting those hands to use today by taking away that that mess. It's a mess. Look at this. It's not so bad, though. It's not so bad. Made a little bit of a mess, but not too bad. So I'm back over here. I'm going to stir in my nice little grind, if you will, that I've made of the ancho chilies in the seeds, the pumpkin seeds, and the sesame seeds, and the almonds, and the peanuts, and a little bit of those raisins. I mean, can you see it already? If you've never made mole or never had mole, it's absolutely wonderful. And it's so simple. Really, it is. I mean, so far, so good. So I'll add some fresh tomatoes to the mole. Got some little fresh tomatoes there. And then I'm going to crank up my heat a little bit here. So we'll let those tomatoes cook a little bit. And get rid of that. What we'll make today is a chicken enchilada. So we've got chicken enchiladas, and I think the chicken, was that a chicken trying to get away? A chicken, kill that chicken, please. Behead that chicken. And thank you very much. So we've got it's fun. We have a lot of fun here on the Man in the Kitchen program. We have fun. Chickens don't have fun, but we have fun. We're going to make a chicken enchilada. So what we want to do is cook the chicken breasts. I've got some chicken breasts here, and I've got whole chicken breasts that still have that bone in them. And I like dark meat and white meat both in my enchiladas. This will end up being the enchilada filling. But we're going to cook it with the mole sauce. Now, if you don't want to do enchiladas and you just want the standard mole, chicken mole, let's say, what you might do is, remember when I was cooking those onions, you might brown your chicken in a little bit of oil and then take the chicken out and then cook the onions and then do this part, then return the chicken and just let it simmer for, probably a half hour, and you've got yourself a relatively quick yet very good, better than that store-bought preservative intensive mole. You've got yourself a great mole that you'll absolutely love. What I'll need to do now is add back to this some chicken broth. So I'll put in about 4 cups. And remember, when you're making mole, make a lot of it because people tend to love it and they tend to eat it. So make a lot of it. And if you're putting together a celebration or inviting family over, it's the perfect dish. And if you by chance, let's just say by chance you have some left over, it doesn't get consumed enthusiastically, as mole does, then you can keep it for a while. You can freeze it or you can keep it in the refrigerator for a couple weeks and it shouldn't be a problem. So you can see I've got the chicken broth in there. I've got this sort of consistency going on here. And I will now add the chicken breasts to the mole. Now I know a lot of you folks out there, and you're well intended. You don't want me to touch the chicken, so I'm not going to. I'm just going to go ahead and put this chicken in. I've got 2 chicken breasts, pretty good sized chicken breasts, and 2 thighs I've got going here today. Yes, I have taken off the skin because I'm trying to be somewhat healthy. You can leave the skin on if you want. We're going to end up taking those out and shredding them. And then they will be the filling, if you will, among other things, for our enchiladas today. That's going to sit there for about 20 minutes, just 25 minutes until that chicken is done. In the meantime, let's see what Dan has made for dessert. Dan, thanks for stopping by.
Always a pleasure.
As you know, we're going to be making some enchilada mole.
I love mole sauce.
Enchilada. So what did you think?
Well, I kept with the chocolate theme, and we're going to make some Mexican chocolate cookies with dulce de leche cream in the middle.
Dulce de leche. What does that translate to in gringo language?
Candy of milk.
Well, that sounds good.
Milk candy.
Milk candy.
But we're going to start with the cookie first. Ooh. So far in here, I have flour, sugar, and creamed butter, almost 2 sticks. I believe it's a 3/4 cup. And next, we're going to add cocoa powder.
Ooh.
Let's go ahead and dump it all in.
Hence the chocolate.
Some cinnamon. And a lot of...
Hence the Mexican chocolate.
Thank you. And the fun part, cayenne pepper. This gives it a little bite.
Cayenne pepper.
It's kind of like if you've ever had a Mexican hot chocolate, they put cayenne pepper into it. So let's go ahead and blend that in together. Remember, with powdered, start slow and work your way up. As you can see.
Otherwise, the neighbors are going to have powdered cocoa all over their front yard.
You can just do it until it's until it's well incorporated. Thanks, Jeff.
So that doesn't take too terribly long.
No, not too long. You can see it's all incorporated. Go ahead and put it down, and then always have a spatula around. Get your dry batter off of it.
Good stuff off of there.
Then you're going to add 1 slightly beaten egg.
Oh, so slightly.
Oh, so slightly.
It's easy to get out of control with that.
And vanilla.
Vanilla also from Mexico.
Gives it a little bit of the moisture that we need to finish it off, and we'll show you why here in a second. Now, the big thing about this recipe, it's a little time consuming. You go ahead and make this batter, and then it's got to go from this point of, we'll show it to you real quick, kind of one big lump. You're going to put it into a little bowl, put it in the refrigerator for about an hour.
Okay.
And then, after an hour, I believe you have the finished product there.
They're in the refrigerator, which is down here. We've got one of these fancy smancy under-the-counter refrigerators. There we are.
And what we've done here is after the hour of the mixture, we've formed them into logs. And then after that, they go back into the refrigerator for another 3 hours. They got to stay nice and hard so we can be able to take
cut them as you were wanting me to take that.
Yeah, sure. So you're going to have parchment paper, oven 325, all pre-baked, and you're just going to slice. Make them a little thicker than you think you're going to want to. They don't have to be perfectly round, or you can make them square, triangular, however you like.
Give them some character.
So you're going to bake these at 12 to 15 minutes at 325. Bring them out, let them cool for a couple minutes. Now the dulce de leche part is the fun part. Now if you have the time, I really don't recommend taking the time and cooking it. It's a 5-minute prep process. It's a 3 to 4 hour cooking process. 3 to 4 hours, which you cannot leave the stove. So
no, this is a cooking show, but we're not that dedicated.
Yes, we're not. It's fun, but what we went and did, and thanks to Sherry, scouring the neighborhood, we found ourselves a dulce de leche already prepared. You can find this, throughout the city, but it might be a little hard. And this is basically whole milk, vanilla bean, sugar, and you start cooking it up. You cook the milk first with the vanilla bean for a little while, and then you go through, but it's like caramelizing. So it starts turning brown, but it's got to be done at low heat, and you keep stirring. This makes it easier. Yeah. So after our cookies have already been done, the fun part here
and it is fun from what you tell me.
It's assembly is we have our cookies, and they do balloon up. They may be small this size, but they go ahead and get a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You go ahead and take a couple bottom through.
You're gonna make a sandwich out of these?
We're making a sandwich, and
yeah.
You get the kick from the cayenne pepper in the cookie, so now you need the sweetness of the cream. So you're going to go ahead and take little spoonfuls and just plop them on like that.
Damn, this sounds
And
fantastic.
if you want to get 3 other cookies ready.
3 other cookies. Where?
They're right there.
There they are.
I know they were around.
I thought they were in the oven, then I thought they were. Okay, so these are hard too, because that butter makes them a little harder than I was thinking.
So we have them, and go ahead and then just push down. Let it go. Let it be messy on the outside.
Let yourself go, right?
You can do as much as you want. Obviously, if you go too much, you get like that.
Okay, so too much and it'll start overflowing.
But you
like
got
my
the
dates
sweetness
on the
of the dulce de leche. You've got the little kick into the chocolate cookie. It's a great way to finish off a mole dinner. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anything Mexican and chocolate, it's really good. And,
absolutely.
It's real easy. Again, you can do it all from scratch, but it's going to take a lot of time, or you can fudge around it a little bit.
Fudge around. No pun intended. No pun intended, folks. Oh boy. Well, I can't wait to try this. The cayenne. The cayenne really comes out.
It does.
I didn't think it would, but it does.
It really makes it. I mean, it's like having that Mexican hot chocolate. At first sip, you're going, wow. And then you're like, wow. So it's
It
awesome.
reminds me a lot of that. Oh, Dan, thank you once again.
Oh, my pleasure. Looking forward to the mole.
Yeah. Now, as you can see, the mole is just perfect. It's just to this nice gravy consistency that we love so much. And you can see that it's nice and chunky. I like it chunky. If you want to process this a little further, go ahead and do it. Put it in your food processor again. That's fine. I'm not going to. I'm going to actually add the chocolate right now is what I want to do. This chocolate, right, don't worry. A lot of people worry that they have to buy a special Mexican chocolate. If you want to buy that, great. If not, just go down and find yourself the least amount of sugar. So this is the 70% cacao. Did I say that right, Marit? Cacao. Yeah, 70% of that is what we've got here. And we'll put in about this much. We'll put in, this is probably going to end up being about 1.5 ounces or so. And just break it in. Break it in. It's going to melt. And we've got time for it to melt. Just kind of stir that in a little bit. And while that's melting, we're going to compile the enchiladas. This is it. This is what we're waiting for here. We're going to compile the enchiladas. Now, what I do is I fry my corn tortillas in oil because it brings out so much more flavor in the corn. So I recommend you do that. If you're on a low-fat diet, you shouldn't be watching the show. No, I'm kidding. You can steam these. Stay with us, please. You can steam these. But I have went ahead and fried them because I really like the flavor. And the cheese that we use today, the ideal cheese is the enchilado cheese. And you can find that in a lot of the grocery stores, mainstream grocery stores these days, if not a good reason to go visit your Latino market. But enchilado cheese is the best. It's a good melter, similar to mozzarella or jack. If you can't find the enchilado, go ahead and use mozzarella. I've got some red onions that are really good. And as you can see, the chicken came out very nicely. And it's so easy to shred. It's just a matter of getting in there and shred it as soon as you can after it's cooked. It was in for about 30 minutes, as you saw earlier. And then you'll literally just take a couple of forks and it'll come right off the bone. and it's just so simple to shred. So do it when it's hot and it shreds easier. And I've got the chicken, thighs here as well. So I've got some good shredded chicken to go inside our wonderful mole enchilada. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and just grab a little bit of the chicken. And this is, I got to tell you, this is the best part of, this is really the national dish of Mexico, is what it is. And you can see why, and you'll know why when you taste it. It's so wonderful. Different varieties of this out there, as we mentioned, but we're making our own variety with chocolate. So that's it. We got the little bit of chicken, a little bit of red onion that we've chopped up, and a little bit of that cheese. And then we'll just put it in the side here, do another one. Here's my method. I just sort of use one, right? The one I'm making. The one I'm making, I use it to keep the other ones intact. And again, I'm just using my fingers. Hope you don't mind. Do you mind if I use my fingers? You're going to use yours. So why don't I use mine? And there we are. There are mole festivals in Mexico. Mole festivals. It's so popular. And it's been around since the 1860s. Legendary. Middle of the 19th century, right? Well, the Civil War is going on. Mole is being developed over there and down in Mexico. And it is, there are so many different varieties of it. Legendary, we're not quite sure where it comes from. Not 100% sure. Nobody seems to have the answer of where mole comes from. All we know is it's a concoction. So we can do whatever we want. As you saw, we made our little version there. It doesn't have to be complicated. Some people put as many as 30 ingredients in their mole. We're not going to put 30 in. Did anybody count how many we had? Did we have a count of how many ingredients? We probably could. You could probably, if you're TiVoing us, just, you know what to do. Just go back and count how many we put in. You're probably not going to find more than a dozen total ingredients in there. So there we are. So thank you for staying with me while I did this part. Oh, it's going to be so good. We got one more here. I'm just putting these right down the middle. A little bit more chicken, a little bit more red onion, and a little bit more of the enchilada cheese. Roll it up. Now, I'll put a little bit of the cheese on the top. I'm going to look over here and see how we're doing. It looks like my chocolate has pretty much melted. Just make sure that, oh, this smells so good. Just that ounce or so of chocolate that went in here, and now that it has married with that cinnamon, it just has this wonderful sweet spicy flavor, as well as a nice savory flavor because we have so many of those nuts, and of course the chicken broth in here. It's just the right combination of savory. And let's go back to those ancho chilies. Because we put the chilies in, it's definitely a true enchilada sauce, but it's also a characteristic, with that chili pepper in there, of a mole sauce. So we're actually serving two purposes today. So right over the top here, we come back to our, that's it. And I'm telling you, you can't make enough of this mole sauce. You just can't make enough of it. And as we put that on top, then we put a little bit more cheese. We've got our oven that's still at 350 from toasting our seeds. It's still at 350. So what we'll do is we'll put this in. This isn't hot yet. We'll put this in a 350 oven here for about 15, 20 minutes because everything's cooked. All we're going to do is melt that cheese and bring that together. And what more do we need now? We need to find out about what sort of wine will pair with these wonderful mole enchiladas. So Marit Cams will be out here in a second. Marit, I'm going to put a little bit of the cilantro on top of this.
This is so good. We just had a chance to taste this a while ago. Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, and now you can pair it. I thought you were going to pair it with wine, but no.
And then of course you would think, well, it's Mexico's national dish. She'll bring Mexican beer, but no. I had to bring this. This is a chocolate porter.
Ooh, chocolate porter.
And it's actually from one of our local breweries.
Okay.
But I mean, come on, you've got chocolate in the sauce. You've got nuts. Porter is really toasty. It's actually malty and toasty and chocolatey by itself. And then you take what they did with it, and they added chocolate malt, cocoa nibs, and then after it's fermented, they add vanilla beans. So I can't wait to taste this.
Oompa is all I can say. Willy Wonka's at the door, wants in now.
He's got the golden ticket.
Well, you've got the golden ticket with this.
I think so. Anyway, so porter's real interesting because it hails back to London in the 1700s, and you probably know some of this. You're a beer guy, but very popular among the transportation workers at the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And they were called porters.
I had no idea.
Well,
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, chocolate porter used interchangeably sometimes with stout, and it's a dark beer. Fell out of favor, actually, probably around the 20th century, early 20th century, and didn't come back until the microbreweries picked it up
Wow.
in the 70s here locally. In London, Guinness, all those, it's been popular.
Okay,
But, so
okay.
anyway, so can we
we're
try
back.
this?
I can't wait to try this
Let's try
chocolate
this.
porter with our chocolate-intensive mole enchilada sauce. Oh, we
Absolutely.
won't worry about that. We'll let the Oompas pick that up.
Oompa Loompas.
Oompa Loompas is what they were.
They're especially orange today.
Ah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is
I know,
got
look
quite
how
a nice
dark
head
it is.
on it.
Isn't it gorgeous?
In dark, like a porter should be.
Absolutely. Oh, isn't that? Oh, my
Yep, that is
gosh.
pretty. That
And
is
let's
very
take
pretty.
a sniff because
We
we should smell the
We
chocolate.
just had a little taste of this, and Marit had a chance to taste it. So let's see how it will pair.
Yeah. Oh, you can smell the chocolate. It's really.
I didn't sniff. I just went for the gulp. But you're right.
Oh,
it does. Yeah. So you
perfect.
think it'll go?
Oh, I know
Okay.
it'll go.
Good. Good.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Can you taste the vanilla?
I can.
Little bit in there?
Oddly, I can taste
And
the
the
vanilla.
chocolate. And this is actually surprisingly smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
I think so. It's not. It doesn't have a real pronounced flavor of anything in there.
So hopefully the Mexicans will forgive us for
Yes,
drinking.
folks, for not bringing a Mexican beer up from Mexico, because there's a lot of good ones down there. But this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think it'll be
this
very
is really
interesting.
good. And
for
I
the
think it's really
chocolate.
cool. A lot of the microbreweries around here, we've got tons and tons now in the Inland
Yes.
Empire.
Yes.
And I'm very impressed with this one. This is one of my favorites that they make. I think it's really good. So,
Yeah, and the sweetness of it too. And I mean, you could drink this alone, but with I think pairing with I really like the complexity of the mole. And we have
I
so
do
many
too.
sweetness and
Toasted
savory.
Nuts, you've got raisins, you've got chocolate, you've got toasted nuts, tomatoes.
And this is really consistent with that because it's not too sweet, not too savory on either side. You'd think chocolate porter, it's going to be sweet.
And
No.
they talk about pairing this with desserts, which you actually could do.
Right, 'cause-
Like even cheeses, like a cheddar cheese, believe it or not.
Oh, I bet that would be good.
Because there's a little bit of sweetness and richness in an aged cheddar cheese. So you could certainly do that. But anyway, I thought this was perfect.
I think you found the perfect
Yes.
match for our